Hi, everyone. It's Adriana Monique Alvarez. I'm the CEO of Alma Publishing, and I am here today continuing our interview series, So Much More Stories. And I'm beyond excited to have Miss Brigid Holder joining us today. Hi, Brigid. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks, Adriana, for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us where you're joining from.
I am in a rural town called Cootamundra in New South Wales in Australia in my house at the moment.
I love it. Next time we'll have to do a walk and talk when you're on a walk in the forest, although we probably couldn't have any good reception out there.
Actually, the reception from the house seems to extend around our property, so it's pretty cool.
There you go. It works. So I want to tell a little bit about why we're doing this series, what it's all about. So I basically, I want to keep storytelling alive. For me, storytelling is such a sacred thing. It's as old as time. We used to gather around the fire. We used to gather around the table. Hopefully some people still do. This is really important to me. And it's how we share our experiences. It's how we pass on our wisdom. And actually, a friend of mine I love, she told me this week. It's how we make sense of things. It's how we make sense of life and events and circumstances as we tell stories. And so I really wanted to create a series where, you tell a story that allows us to get to know more of you than what we see that, as entrepreneurs, as change makers, as leaders, we often lead with a certain identity and image. And I would love for more of us to share the stories that kind of pull that curtain back. So thank you for being willing to do this, Brigid. So Brigid, what do most people know you as?
Most people know me as a businesswoman, both in the corporate world and in the entrepreneur world. And, currently they see me as the CEO of a publishing house, the Art of Grace Publishing House. And some people connect me as a mother, especially in this rural location that I live in.
And I know you're all of that, but so much more.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that you would like to dedicate this story to?
Yeah, my nan and granddad, actually, Art and Grace Power.
Beautiful. I'm going to turn it over to you to tell your story.
Well, it's funny because as we were talking beforehand, and I thought this was something else, and you said, no, this is for our storytelling. And the first thing that popped into my head was actually a time with my grandfather when I was younger. And I think it was the first time that I realized that storytelling was so powerful. I mean, I realized it as an adult. When I was a child, I didn't actually realize this, but he was in the garden. He was an avid gardener, and he was in the garden, and we were picking strawberries from his strawberry patch. And it felt like to me that it went on for miles. And when I look at the size of that patch now, it's quite small. But as a child, I thought that this was a magnificent place to be. And he had mandarin trees, and we used to eat mandarins until we were sick. But we were in the garden and we came across a witchy grub. And he said to me, "Would you like to eat it?" And of course I was horrified at first. And I thought, why would I want to eat a grub out of the ground? This is disgusting, Granddad. And he said, "But I want to tell you why you would want to eat it." And then he told me a story about the Aboriginal people in Australia and how they would forage for food, and how we can actually eat off the land and we can grow our own produce. And it's something that until last year, I never actually wanted to garden, and I never actually wanted to connect with a garden. I always thought that was a chore rather than something that could be enjoyable. And he absolutely adored it. But he told me the story about how they forage and how they want to live off the land for the rest of their lives, and how they would look after the land. So he told me about how the Aboriginals did burn off. And in Australia, we had incredibly bad bushfires a couple of years ago, even 12 months ago. And it was something that brought up this story again, because in the media, they were talking about, why don't we do it how our First Nations people do it? And what they do is they actually do it in a circle format. And the reason they do that is they start at a center and they do it in a circle, so it gets larger and larger. So it gives time for the animals to actually leave. So they do it in a circle format, and the animals can leave and they can move out, and then they stop the circle, and then they move to another location so the animals can move back in. And they do that so it protects their land and rejuvenates the land, and it allows the land to produce new earth and, you know, growth in the undergrowth. But it also allows them the opportunity to find spaces where they can plant more food and they can actually grow things, but they find the space. They don't, like traditional farming, buys a plot of land, has a square paddock, plows it up and puts the crop in. They would do it in location around what was already there, and they would manually do all this work, of course. And I just realized it was probably 6 months ago. I live on 27 acres and I don't grow anything. And it's something that I realized we have this opportunity to, you know, grow more trees and be able to build, you know, better oxygen in the air and grow food for ourselves. And it's something that took me right back to that time in the garden of the strawberries and Granddad with the witchetty grub. So we did go on to eat the witchetty grub, and I remember him saying, "It tastes like chicken. It tastes like chicken. It doesn't taste like chicken." He was trying to convince me that it tasted like chicken, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. He actually lit a little fire and cooked the witchetty grub over the fire, and we did eat it. He had one bite and I ate the rest, and it was a really beautiful moment to remember. And the story that he shared with me came back when these fires were happening in Australia, and somebody on the television was saying we should do it the way that our First Nations people did it and maintain our land and, you know, continue to do this backburning process to allow it to happen. And you see the farmers, they burn the land to rejuvenate the land after a crop's been in there, certain crops, not all crops. And it's something that I never paid attention to until last year when the fires happened. And I thought, you know, we could be doing so much more to produce and be able to support people. So we've planted fruit trees. I think there's 9, and this year I'm 50, and I've decided that I'm going to plant 50 trees on our property for my 50th birthday. So big job ahead of us. And we are putting in a vegetable patch as well, which is quite exciting. So everything's happening all because of that one story where my granddad had me in the strawberry patch and shared a witchetty grub with me, and the story of our First Nations people. And I'm forever grateful to him because he taught me so much. And my grandparents played a very large part in my life, and hence why I named my publishing house after them and dedicate this story to them, because, you know, it really is, they are my roots. And going back through things that he has told me is something that brings me so much joy. And, you know, that love continues on because of his connection to the earth. And I love that. So it's a beautiful way to live life. And being in nature is something that I didn't realize I could just do in my backyard. I didn't have to go hiking to do that. And yeah, it was only because of the bushfires last year that this memory came back, and I'm really grateful for that.
Thank you, Brigid, for the story. It makes me so happy to hear it. I mean, you know where I'm at and what we're doing, and so I just feel like, yes, I get it. I absolutely get it. You know, and it's a big project, but it's also so fulfilling. And yes. I will tell you, I never got so excited to see, you know, a plum come on a tree and just wait for it and watch it. And is it ripe? And then, you know, like throw all my heart into making this beautiful dessert. So I completely understand, and I hear you. And I love how this was passed on, and then life sparked it for you again.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, where do you like to share this story and others? Are you available for podcasts and summits, etc.?
Yeah, absolutely. I love doing summits and podcasts because you get to reach a whole new audience, and storytelling is something that can connect us. You know, stories bind us together, and as human beings, we are craving connection more than ever. And I think that it's something that is available to everyone. But when you can share your story on any level, it's an opportunity for growth, as well as an opportunity for those who are out there and thinking, you know, should I get out in the garden or shouldn't I? You know, they might hear my story and go, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. because it is so much fun. You know, even weeding is great exercise, and it's kind of fun when you see the end product. It's like, oh, that looks good now. So something that I never thought I would enjoy, that I am enjoying.
That's a very good point. It's that satisfaction of seeing that before and after, and you're like, oh wow, look at the difference it made. So true. Yeah, it feels good.
Yeah.
Now, where can people connect with you online?
They can connect with me on Facebook or through my website, which is brigidholder.com. And yeah, you can reach out to me either way, and I'm happy to converse with anybody. I love stories and storytelling, and being able to be doing what I'm doing is like a dream to me, being able to share stories for women across the world. It's a beautiful way to live life.
It sure is. Thank you for doing what you're doing and for honoring that moment that you had, and look what you're creating, not only for yourself, for those that come after you. Thank you, Brigid. I want to absolutely, I want to remind everyone, if you have a powerful story to share, we are accepting applications for our next Younger Self Letters book. This is going to be a USA Today bestseller. Brigid was in our last one. And the link to apply is in the description box. Until next time, here's to connecting with the land and allowing ourselves to see the honor, the privilege, and all of the gifts that come along with it. All right, until next time, bye.